Please start by telling us about yourself, where you live, and what do you do for a living?
So my name is Ben Bakeberg. I have been in education my whole career. So I taught for 5 years, got my administrative license, and have been a principal for the last 16 years in both public and private schools. So currently I'm the middle school principal in Jordan, Minnesota. I live there with my wife, Lindy. We've got 3 kids. My daughter is a freshman in college at Northwestern in St. Paul. My son is a junior, and then we have a 4th grader as well. So,
the election was just 2 days ago, but I still took off your campaign webpage that said your experience and background have uniquely prepared you for this service at this time. How so? Explain that.
That's a great question. Talked a lot about that on the campaign trail, and being in education, one of the reasons I got into this whole thing is because just the divisiveness in politics forced us in education to be in a lose-lose situation. And I think my background of working with people from all different perspectives and then working together to come to a consensus on what's going to be the best solution for the kids that walk into our building each and every day. So, my teachers, for the most part, have supported me in this. From what they've told me, the ones that didn't, I'm sure they didn't say anything. But yeah, I think just being able to work with people and being able to solve problems, and then just being able to talk firsthand about how these bad policies are hurting our kids and families, and being able to talk about what that looks like on the back end.
So what do we need to do when it comes to your campaign slogan? It said strong, well, at least one of them. I took it from the webpage. Strong families, strong communities, strong schools.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How can that be accomplished?
So this morning I had a student who is having significant mental health issues, and mom has been trying to get him to come to school for the last, even prior to the pandemic, through the pandemic, and then coming out of the pandemic. The kid struggled with attendance. We walked through the whole truancy process. We did that. We worked with our county partners, and the truancy process works for most kids. But what I've seen, and I saw it firsthand this morning, is we need to do something different to meet the mental health needs of our kids. And sometimes that means getting a kid out of the home so that the kid can get their mental health needs addressed, but also support families. And that's where the strong families, strong communities, strong schools comes from, because I believe that the foundation of our society is having a strong family. And I've seen in the school system, when family has been eroded, it plays into the community and it impacts the schools.
And tell us about your district. What kind of community is it, and what are some of the concerns that you heard over the last year or so when you've been meeting people and campaigning?
The district I represent is 54B. It's Prior Lake, Jordan, part of Shakopee, and then the surrounding townships around that area. And Jordan, or the 54B, is a great district, very diverse. From you look at parts of Shakopee down to Jordan, there are different needs across the district. But what I consistently saw and heard from families is just the rising costs and getting inflation under control. The economic concerns are a huge concern for my district. And then education is a big concern, and people are concerned, honestly, just about the divisiveness, not necessarily one side or the other, but just why do the schools have to be addressing all of these issues? So that's what I really was questioned from both sides of the aisle, and I think I was able to uniquely talk about how we don't want to do that, and oftentimes educators are vilified, and that's not true. Educators go into being a teacher or a para or a cook or a custodian, bus driver, administrator, because they love kids and they want to work with kids. And so across the district, those are the big things. And then public safety is an issue as well.
And I wasn't going to let you leave without asking you about this. I'm a former amateur baseball player myself.
Yes.
So I really can appreciate some of the districts, your district, and maybe some of the surrounding areas, the historic ballparks that are
Yep.
down there.
Oh, yes.
I think we both have a love for the mini Met.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you maybe just explain to people that I explain to people all the time about it, but maybe you can explain to people who may not know the kind of the phenomenon of Minnesota amateur baseball?
Yeah, it's hard to explain, and maybe we should take a field trip on a Friday night during session and go down and watch a game. But I think it's really about community is really the neat thing about the ballpark, and you know, I still play. I play for the Jordan Millers. And
Very good team.
Yep, and I played for the Jordan Brewers. I played for the DC Saints. My uncle Mark would be frustrated if I didn't give a shout out to the Saints, and I grew up playing baseball. And I think the thing that I love about baseball and I love about the ballpark is when you come to the ballpark, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. When you step across the line and you're playing a game, you're just playing a game that you love. And I'm 44 years old and I'm still catching. My knees are questioning that every once in a while, but you know, I don't care if my pitcher, you know, voted a different way than I did. I just want to support him, and I think that's one of the things that I love, and that's one of the things about the ballpark, and in particular, you know, the Jordan ballpark. You talked about the mini Met. It's just nostalgia, Americana, and kind of brings us back to how we grew up. And you know, there's a group of people that are really invested into that ballpark in Jordan that really make it special. And I think that is a testament to what can happen when people invest in something that brings value to the community.